I don't have anything profound for an opening statement. As far as attendance, everyone should be here. There's no, we should be at full tilt today. There'll be some guys that are held for various reasons from full participation. There'll be some guys that have some work on the side, some limited participation, but everybody's here, and we're ready to roll. So I'll let you guys go ahead.
Anything, I guess, that you want to see improve from maybe OTAs that you need to, in the offseason, on a positive note on?
Yeah, I think we're always, every day, you're trying to get better at something. There's always points of emphasis. I think we've had a good offseason program thus far. This is a little bit, how do we finish it on a high note for us, kind of in all three phases, getting ready for when it starts for real here in the end of July. So sort of last tune-up. Structure of the day is still pretty similar to an OTA day for us. We have one more team period today. We're allowed a little bit more time on the field, so we'll take advantage of that, and then we're allowed to meet after practice. So that's really the only difference between the minicamp and the OTAs, but it is the last tune-up, before we break for the summer and head ourselves into the real thing in training camp. So plenty of things to improve on for sure.
We talked to was before Cam had the third down day, which you said was kind of going to be a big day for him, but looked a little bit bumpier maybe than we'd seen him previous, possibly. Just wanted to get your thoughts, your eval.
Yeah, I thought it was a good day for him, and a good day doesn't necessarily mean a high level performance, but it was a good day for him as a young player to see all the things that are coming at him. He did some really good things, and there was some cool stuff that he learned from that he maybe hadn't encountered before. First time out going against a blitz heavy attack like our defense is, and presents a lot of problems, a lot of things you have to manage from the quarterback position, a lot of things maybe for the first time he's done. So that was really good to see. Plenty of things to coach off of on the tape. He understands things pretty quickly as far as what the looks are and what our answers are. He's done a nice job of catching up to those things, but really good first day. And the red zone's the other area too, where things happen a lot faster. The windows are tighter. The recognition happens quicker. The throws have to be on point, and so there's been really good learning down in the red zone too. So excited about all that process. There's something every day for him, which is a lot of our young players too. It's been good to work through all that stuff.
Guys are efficient in the middle of the field. Is that a fair assessment that he's particularly good at this stage in the middle?
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. He's got a great feel for underneath coverage and underneath space. Understands where the landmarks are, understands the timing of those throws. It's a strength of his for sure at this point. And it's something we're going to keep working to highlight, and then we'll keep working to fill in where we think he can keep improving. So middle of the field is certainly something he's comfortable with and done a lot of, and that's translated so far to this level in practice.
For the guys who are in year 2 of your system, some of them have talked about being able to go deeper into the playbook with their understanding and all. How valuable is that, and also how much changes year over year when you go back and reassess?
That's a good question. There's a lot of layers to that. Probably the easiest answer is that the first year, guys are focusing a lot on what to do. They're trying to learn new terminology, how we want routes run, how the process, what they have to do. The second year is a little bit more about how to do it. The different techniques. They're worried less about what words mean because they know. They're worried less about what the language is because they've been through it. And now it's a lot more about the details within all of that. It's probably if you count the times through not counting the season, just installation wise, they've been through the installation quite a few times. So everything is the newness of it is gone, and now it's about how do we refine the details of what we're asking. From a route technique standpoint, from a coverage recognition standpoint, those are all really important aspects, and it's just part of building. When you're doing something new, that first step is you're just trying to get it all under your grasp, and then as you improve at it, you're trying to find out how you can do a better job within the framework of the system. So that's probably the easiest way to explain kind of year 1 versus year 2 for our guys. And then as we evolve and adapt, we study around the league every year. You see, teams running some things, maybe different ways, different formations, different personnel groups. How do we best add things that fit us? And then, as you study some of the college game too, as you go across the league and you get ready for the draft, you're watching all these college guys and college offenses, and they do some cool stuff too, and you figure out where that can fit. And then for us, though, the main thing is refining what we do and doing it better at the end of the day. But we're always looking to tweak and add where we can tweak. But the best teams I've been on offensively are able to have a core, something the things they're good at, and then find ways to dress them up. So you're doing a lot of the same things, but it looks different to the defense is sort of the general idea.
What are the indicators of development for you with the rookie pass catchers? Like, what are you looking for in this phase that tells you any of these guys are getting better?
The speed at which they play, how quickly they can recognize things, from coverage and leverage. How quickly do they pick up on some of the nuance that's required at this level with receivers. There's a lot of things that's on their plate. They have to be able to see a lot, and every day they come out, there's something new comes up for them. And I think the biggest thing is not repeating whatever mistake they made initially and continuing to move forward. And again, the faster they start to play, the more comfortable you can assume they're getting. It's funny sometimes you can almost see guys think when they're playing. And the idea for the receivers is that you don't want them thinking, you want them rolling, playing as fast as possible, and that just comes with reps.
As you move into minicamp, how do the reps at quarterback change, and how have the guys handled the opportunities that they've got?
Yeah, I've been pleased with how they've handled the whole operation. And again, this isn't lip service at all. Like, Will's done a really nice job over the course of the offseason. He's handled it very professionally. He's competed. Cam's done the same, and then Brandon and Tim have done the same things as well. They've all had opportunities. They made the most of those opportunities. I think all of them have. It's been a good spring, I think, for the quarterbacks in general. That part I feel good about. I'm confident with where they're at. Cam's still taking probably more of the reps because he's got more development to go. He's got more things he's got to get exposed to as a young player. But they're all getting opportunities, and I think the takeaway is that they've all made the most of those chances they've had, and it's been a good process this spring.
How much have you noticed Cam being able to maximize when he's not out there, like getting those mental reps, and like he'll see something that happened and not repeating that mistake that he saw?
That's really an important part of playing quarterback is, you do have to be able to take coaching from, when you're coaching one player, you're coaching the whole position. And there is some benefit to being able to see things when you're not in the heat of it. You need both things. You need to be in the heat to feel it and understand it, but there's a time and a place where watching somebody else do it sometimes makes the picture clearer. Maybe it's something that's muddy or you don't quite see when you're doing it. So that's what's the good part about having guys like Tim and Brandon and Will is guys that have all been through it and done it. He can at least watch some of that as well. So there's benefit to that too, of both perspectives of sitting back and watching and then the act of doing, which, generally speaking, you're going to learn the most by doing and making a mistake and learning from that mistake. But there is a time and place where you have to be able to, take the coaching from the other guys and see something they've gone through and be able to still bank that rep because it all counts. And the guys that are paying attention and do it the right way, you can still get a lot better by seeing other guys do it.
Of Jermaine Pratt, and would he be a guy that potentially could interest you guys?
Yeah, I think anytime good players are available, you do your due diligence. It always takes two sides to make something happen. There's got to be interest on both sides, but we're certainly not at the point where we would ever turn our nose up at a player that's available. We'll do our research, we'll do our due diligence. Whether that materializes or not, who knows? But we're always going to look into those guys, and especially as we get into training camp with the top waiver claim, that's something else that's going to come up a lot too. Is just we owe it to our team. Our front office does a great job with it of sort of always mining whatever's available to see if we can improve our team somewhere.
How would you say that?
I'll come back and
I
finish
was
the
just going
follow-up.
to say, what do you recollect about that?
Yeah, I mean, Jermaine was a key piece of our defenses in those runs when I was there in Cincinnati. Leader, good player, productive player. He's kind of responsible for some pretty memorable moments for those teams in those couple of years. And, I was with him from the time he was drafted till I left, so I got a good knowledge of the person. There's certainly, the type of guy you'd want to be around.
Along those lines, you've talked about how it's just difficult with the linebackers to evaluate until the pads come on. Mm-hmm. What would you say the level of patience is with the young guys you have trying to see who can step up there, and then what's the level of buy-in to the group that you have? Maybe confidence is the right word, that you have that somebody will emerge.
Yeah, excited about what those guys have done. They've really grown. Cedric and James have grown. Adding Orgy and the guys that we've kind of supplemented veteran-wise have really shown up for us. It's hard to evaluate linebackers without pads, as you said. But being in the right spot, reading the right keys, being in the right place in the pass game, all that stuff you can see parts of. And those guys have made some jumps. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they look like in training camp. We're counting on those guys. We're counting on them to step up. And all of them, at the end of the day, could have a chance to play some significant snaps for us. So feel good about where we're at. A lot still to be uncovered and competed for, but pleased with that process so far. And again, if it's, we are confident in where they're at and we're counting on them, but we're not there yet.
Is there, from a payroll standpoint, flexibility that if this team were to see somebody out there, June 1st has come, so there's been a lot of guys that have been released. Does this team have the payroll flexibility to add on a big salary or a medium-sized salary?
I think we got good flexibility. I think our cap's healthy, which I think at the end of the day, from a financial perspective, you always want to at least have the flexibility to do those types of things if they come up. We've done a really good job, I think, of managing that over the last, at least since I've been here for 2 years, of being able to be in position if something does come up that makes sense, of being able to do it. Again, doesn't mean we're going to. I think Mike and those guys in the front office are pretty disciplined in their approach on how they're going to go about those types of players. But I think we have the flexibility to add players where needed from now until, whenever that end point comes for us. The trade deadline, I think, is probably the last point. But, they're going to do their due diligence on anybody that comes available between now and the end of training camp for sure, again, with the waiver claim as well. But we have the flexibility to do what we would need to do.
About building from the bottom up. Do you have to look at it that way to a degree because there's so many more players available? I mean, you've got a huge undrafted rookie free agent class, and you only got one first-round pick. Is that kind of...
I think the good teams in this league do a really nice job of of finding ways to fill in their roster depth and trusting that they can find young players, college free agents, late round picks, guys that can step in and contribute. And that's, when you look at the teams, everybody's got their superstars, but the teams that really play well at the end of the year are the teams that rely on their depth, because inevitably you're always going to have injuries. There's always going to be people that need to step up and play a game or two or four. And so those are the guys that end up doing it. Those are your working class on your football team, and you got to have enough of those guys that can perform when called upon. And so the depth is important. You rely on it over the course of the season, and you coach those guys just the same, and you're coaching them for that moment that we're going to need them. And we're going to need all the guys that end up making our 53, and whoever makes our practice squad, they're all going to have a chance to contribute, and we need those guys.
Be back end of the roster.
Feel good about where we're at. There's a lot still to be played out. But we got some young players that are about the right stuff and have shown some good things so far. And again, we'll get more into the weeds when the pads come on. But feel good about that process of where we're at. And again, we're still looking to add players where we can and improve our football team from the outside, if that's what it is too.
Throwing Jeff right back into the mix, and is there anybody that you maybe held back a little bit through OTAs that maybe do a little bit in minicamp?
We'll be mindful with Jeff. This would be his first team activity, so just be smart, but he'll be out there participating. Zeitler will probably do a little bit more today than you guys have seen. Whether that means a bunch of team reps or not, we'll see. But we'll just be smart with those guys. Lockett is in the same boat. Those guys that have just played a lot of football, trying to get them as healthy as possible and feeling as good as possible by the time we get to the season. So we'll manage that a bit, but those guys should be out there a little more than maybe you guys have seen the last couple of weeks. McCreary's coming back. He'll be participating as well. Again, same stuff. Things come up. Guys get rest. And we manage injuries that pop up in the offseason. Nothing major, but he's been working back in 7-on-7, and he should have some team reps today as well. Probably not this week, no.
Do you feel the need to add another veteran in that room with Snead kind of being up in the air?
I think, again, that's a position that we, if the right guys are available and we can add them, we'll look to add them. I think you can never have enough corners because inevitably that's where injuries occur, especially during training camp. On top of it, the more corners you can have, the better. So there's certainly our eyes are always to the wire, trying to see what's available and who might fit.
How much do you feel like you can rely on Snead, given the injuries and the off-the-field issues?
I think everything that he's shown us when he's here has been fantastic, and there's a track record of success as well from what he has been as a player. But he's also got to prove that here too. He hasn't done that yet for us, so there's a little bit of that as well. Like we're waiting for him to show us, the player that he's been. He hasn't reached that level of play for us, and so we're waiting for that opportunity to occur. And I think he'll be ready for it when it comes. But his track record of success and what he's been as a player is pretty well documented. We just hope we need to get that version of him out here for us.
Career coach, what more do you challenge Jeff to be better at?
One more time.
Yeah, just at this point in his career, he's been doing it at a high level for so long. What more do you challenge Jeff to be better at?
I think you can always improve. I think you can always find an area of your game. And to me, the best players that are like Jeff, those guys that are high level players, are always looking for somewhere to improve their game. I think I'd love to see more sack numbers from Jeff. That would be a goal for him, to be able to actually get the quarterback on the ground. Now, he affects the quarterback a lot, but the actual getting of the quarterback on the ground is something that I think he can do a better job of. And I know he's hell-bent on making that happen for us. But there's always something you can get better at. He's always working at something, and I think he's grown as a person. He continues to grow as a player. You'd like to feel like he's sort of hitting his prime at this point, with the experience that he has and the amount he's played, to get the best version of Jeff this year.
With Taj Spears last year, difficult year, and he talked about that with us, where maybe his confidence was shaken a bit. Have you had conversation with him coming into this season, and what would you like to see out of him in terms of growth?
I'm glad you asked that question. Because one of the things about Tajay is I heard a lot about Tajay when I got here, about the type of person and the player that he was. And we've had conversations, but he did have a challenging year, both personally and professionally. And there was some things that we've had to sit and visit about on different occasions. And I give a lot of credit to him, because he's had an unbelievable offseason in terms of his energy, his effort, his clarity, and what he wants to get done. So I've been really pleased with where Tajay's at. He's a great example, and it's not something that's maybe as easy for you guys to see, but his personal growth, I think, has been outstanding. And I'm really excited to see what he can bring to us this year, because he's been in a great place and he's had a really nice offseason. Good.
Thank you.